Hello, MSOE fans, and welcome to the Raider Report, where we sit down with MSOE coaches to discuss all things Raider athletics, from game reactions to recruiting news and everything in between. The Raider Report has all the behind-the-scenes details and news you want. And joining us back on the show this week, it is the head coach of women's hockey, Baylee Marabella. Coach, welcome. Glad to have you back here.
Glad that you're having me back. I'm excited to be here. It's an exciting week.
Just a few days away from the official kickoff of MSOE women's hockey. First game will be on Friday. You guys hit the road. And then first home game Saturday night, 8 p.m. How do you feel now that we're just a couple days away? Does it feel real?
Yes. It feels so real. I'm so excited. Obviously we had our exhibition games last weekend, which are fun, but I know that the excitement that brews for like the first regular season game is just unmatched, and especially the first home game ever. I know the girls are itching to like play in front of their family, friends, classmates, the band, everything. Yes, exactly. So I know that they're just like beyond excited for this week.
You can get excited for a scrimmage exhibition all year long, but without like the full pomp and circumstance of like a
exactly.
Game day. And knowing that it'll count, like you can't match that.
Yes.
I think for me it was real when it went from just having your little sign on the locker room door to like having the actual wrap and graphic on it. I'm like, oh yeah, like we
have a real team and a real locker room right there. Yeah, it looks cool. The girls were pumped when they walked by. I didn't tell them, and all the like collective gasps were great to hear, and they're like, oh, it's like so pretty. It really, I think, was coming real for them too, which was fun to see.
Yeah, and you can tell that you can feel the buzz from this team when we were there for media day, taking the photo shoots. Like everyone's super excited to get the uniform on, and be game day ready, even if it's not game day just yet.
Oh yes, the personalities on this team.
Let's rewind just a little bit. Take me back. You started this program from the ground up, essentially.
Yeah.
All these kids coming in. How was recruiting for you leading up to this season, and what was that like? Because you have a few upperclassmen who are here at MSOE, but then this is a young team.
Yeah, it is. I mean, coming into, of course, like I'm a new coach, right? So that was a whole part of the process that was definitely a learning experience for me. I kind of know it from the player perspective, but having to kind of come in and like, I definitely have a newfound respect for coaches because I'm like, this is a lot. Yeah. But it was really nice having that kind of built in, like you said, the upperclassmen, those 8 girls that were here who had kind of been trying to see this through. It really helped to have them in support of the recruiting as well, just knowing, what their personalities were like, knowing that they had that experience. And so when I did bring recruits in, they could talk to them. They could, they were definitely instrumental, I will say, in helping me with the recruiting process, whether it was old teammates they had that they're reaching out to, or just kind of the overall representation that they provided for me to be able to kind of showcase when I was recruiting. So I do want to just give them a shout out because like without them, I think it would have been really, really scary and hard to do on my own.
For sure. And I think you mentioned that they're having the like older players because like MSOE, from what I gather, it's very daunting.
Yes.
I think is the way I would put it. So like I think having that reassurance that like, no, you can manage it, you can do both, that's got to be big for you.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it still continues to be, even in my recruiting right now. But, backing up back to that beginning, it was a lot. I mean, with MSOE, I always call it like a double-edged sword because there's like the good side and the bad side. It's like the great side is that there really isn't a lot of there isn't a lot of engineering, STEM, like places that also have NCAA hockey, especially the D3 level. So it kind of like narrows down, especially if you're a player or a candidate that wants to play hockey and also wants to be an engineer or wants to be a nurse or, which is, so it kind of like is helpful because you'll usually have those girls that are reaching out to you because they're aware, they're excited, there isn't a lot of opportunities. So they're like, oh my gosh, this would be a perfect fit for me. So that was helpful because I feel like I did have a little bit of that, but then it was a lot of learning like the different, there's so many different recruiting websites now and stuff. And I'll admittedly like just jumped on in and I was like searching for people like, who is interested in engineering, you can kind of narrow the, like filter out the different categories. So that was kind of fun. And I feel like I was a lot of reaching out of just like explaining who I am, what type of coaching mentality I want to bring to this program, what we're all about, and kind of just like leaning into all of that. And again, you got some great responses from those interactions too, and talking to coaches that I knew and coaches in the area. Again, really grateful to have all those connections that would help kind of piece together this team for me. And anyone, especially with coaches, in the area or the people that I knew, if they're like, hey, I have a girl who's really interested in engineering and science, like they're sending them my way, which is really, really great. And that was really helpful in that sense. And then, like I said, the other edge of the sword is if there is a player who is great, but she wants to be an English major, unfortunately, it's like, well, sorry, we can't do that. So it was a little bit of navigating kind of both sides to that. But I would say that the people that I was able to recruit are just, you saw it on Media Day, like a great group of girls and a wonderful set of personalities that like somehow have come together and created such a great team. I mean, the energy that we've had even in practices and on the bench, like it just is very satisfying because I really tried, in that early stage of recruiting too, to get good people.
Yeah.
I talked about it in the last podcast, just get good people who want to work hard and who are able to learn. And, I think that I got a good crew of that. And I've seen that come to fruition in practices, which is great.
For sure. And I can tell firsthand from that. I mean, you can tell that when you're around your team, everyone is excited.
Yeah.
Like everyone has a purpose. And I think the fact that it's, kids who identify, okay, I want to play hockey, and I also want to pursue STEM.
Yeah.
So when a lot of those kids are turned away from one of those two,
yes,
and a lot of the places they go, when they can get both, that's a dream for them.
Yeah, it's
so why
beautiful.
wouldn't you be excited about that?
Yeah.
So take me back. Kids have been on campus now for a while, but you guys are literally just days away from the first game. How long have practices been going on for you, and what would you say camp, if you will, has been like?
Yeah. So we had, with NCAA, you have your first like contact day practices, which it's kind of like, the way I describe it is like there's this kind of captains, I say quote unquote, leadership skates or whatever they do on their own. And then, as coaches, we only get a certain amount of days before like the regular season starts that we can be on the ice with them. So we call them the contact day practices. Don't know where that came from, but that's what they're called. And so we had kind of some of those leading up. I think those started mid-September. And it was great. A lot of it was kind of starting off, just kind of figuring out what chemistry looked like, getting them back into, like I say, game shape, right? Like, while captain skates are great, it's nice to have, the extra drills and ideas and things that you can hash out there. And just kind of getting them into a lot of like just flow and back into that conditioning aspect. We focus a lot on that. We still do, just to get back into kind of hockey shape. And then I know that even last year, I asked some of the girls who were members of that 8 group, that core 8 that were here, like what they wanted to see and what they wanted from those practices too. And it was just a lot of competition, so a lot of small area games as well, because again, they hadn't played and collegiately or really played much. They were kind of still in that weird phase of not really having that. They were in that limbo. So tried to make sure that we had a lot of that in our first kind of like training camp per se practices. And then as soon as that regular season hit, which was in October, just tried to form a routine. So typically on Mondays we have a lot of flow. Tuesdays are like battle Tuesdays, I call them. So we just have, again, lots of one-on-ones, lots of two-on-ones, lots of competition, lots of mini games. And then Wednesdays typically are kind of our, like, we break down some details of the game, a lot of learning, a lot of teaching, kind of take it as like a classroom. I've realized, we have a bunch of STEM students, like they learn that way, and it's really great. That's how they absorb. And so trying to make sure that I'm breaking down different things too. That's what our Wednesdays look like. And then Thursdays are usually special teams, and we do like a fun shootout, and then we go into games. So I'm trying to give that. I know that as a player, I take that straight from me being a player too. And in those days, it was nice to have a routine and just kind of knowing like what each day would bring. So that we can kind of best prepare for it. And I feel that they come to the ice better, like prepared and more fully present when they know that. So we try to just kind of establish that right away. And it's been effective and it's great. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that, again, that excitement is really, I always go back to that because they that kind of just on the ice, you can see that with them. The words escaped me. I had a better vocabulary word in my brain about it, but I just radiate. That's the word. It radiates from them. So that's kind of where like I think that no matter what, they just do things with such a passion and such a joy. And you can see that out there. I hope we keep that throughout the whole season, because I know it becomes a long season, and, with adversity and the ups and downs and just the day-to-day of a team and just like school and everything and, the stress of life. I know that it can sometimes be hard to come to the rink every day, but I think right now we have a good group that loves coming to the rink every day, and I want to hold on to that, and hopefully we can keep that going. And I think that with our leadership group, we can too. So
for sure. Well, that segues into my next question a little bit, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but you talked about you guys are very positive. You guys are super upbeat.
Yeah.
It's getting into a little bit of an anxious time, though.
Yes.
Exams are going to be coming up. When academics get nitty gritty, everything gets tighter around athletics. And I think everyone can feel that, from coaches, administrators, everyone feels that. You guys in the preseason poll picked on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Not a ton of respect, which I guess is understandable. It's the first season. Yeah. But how do you use that as a motivational tool for your team?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it definitely fueled the fire for me and for the girls. I mean, I use that as like, hey, we can really only go up from here. Like, literally, quite literally, we can only go up. And I think that, in that realm too, and I think that people are going to come in kind of like not having the highest expectations for us, and I think that we can capitalize on that, and I think that we have already in our exhibition games, which is great. So I'm excited to kind of see how that continues to unfold. I know that the girls used that to motivate them a lot as well, to go out there and be like, hey, we just because we're a new program does not mean that we are starting on bottom there, so it was kind of cool to see them take that and use that for a positive. And I definitely tried to kind of keep that message in the locker room throughout. And I'm sure this week they'll be looking at that too. So
the moment on Saturday, do you worry that that's going to be so much going on? It's like we're having a puck drop, and it's different even from a regular game.
Yes.
Is that in the back of your head?
It sometimes is. I think that we had a little bit of that even in our first exhibition game, right? Like, I could tell, we might have been holding our sticks a little bit tighter than normal, because it's like, holy moly, it's actually here. We're on the ice. We're a team. We're wearing our jerseys. We're like, everything's happening at once, and so I think that thankfully we had that day last weekend too, to kind of hopefully shake some of that out. I do keep that in the back of my mind of like, it is going to be a lot. It's going to be pretty, the stimulation is going to be high. But I'm just hoping, and again, I've been trying to reiterate the message of like using that to fuel you and using that to like get you excited, and you want to play well in front of everyone who's watching. And like a lot of the themes too that we've been trying to reiterate in the locker room and as a coaching staff is just like, hockey is a game of mistakes. And so not, kind of learning how to be able to take that mistake, understand what happened, and move on from it.
Yep.
I think that, as engineers, we have a very cerebral team. And so sometimes it's a matter of, finding that balance between using that brilliance to our advantage, and then also reminding them that it's okay and to not sweat all the little stuffs, because it's very like detail oriented. So there's a healthy balance between focusing on the little details that are important to the game and the details that maybe just don't need to be focused on as much.
Sure.
So trying to help them with that. And I think that even this past weekend and into this practice week, I've seen that a little, that grow more, like that confidence grow in them. I think they realize like, okay, I actually can, every shift is a new opportunity to be better. And so I think that I'm seeing that in them. Hopefully they can take that into the game. But I think they're really excited. And I think that natural, like nerves are normal, and that's a part of sports. And so I think that the better that they can learn how to handle that, I think that it'll contribute to their overall success. So again, myself, Marie, my assistant coach, like we've both been there. So I think that also helps is like, when we're telling them these things, they understand that we've literally been in their skates, like we understand how that feels. And so I think they listen to it a little bit more in that sense too. And then they're able to kind of absorb the information that we're providing them a little bit better.
Sure. So let's run through some of your players on the team here. You finally named your assistant captains. We've yet to have the first actual seat for MSOE women's hockey, because that's a massive deal.
Yeah, it is. And I think that, again, this was something that we have been thinking about since the beginning of that training camp part. We kind of explained to everyone too, we were going to be looking at who was stepping up, who we felt, was showcasing themselves as a leader in that sense, whether it was, by example, whether it was more verbal, whatever it looks like, right? Leadership looks different on all fronts. And then we kind of thought together, just with it being the first year program, we didn't feel as comfortable naming a C yet, because it's like we don't really have anything to build off of, from the past. Yes. A lot of times you have people who have shown that growth and that maturity throughout the 4 years they've been there, 3 or 4 years or however long, right, as they grow with the program. And so in that sense, we were kind of like, okay, I think this year, though, we do have some great leaders. We just think they can all balance each other out in the best way. And so that's kind of why we went with the A's, and just had them be kind of like, captains in that sense. Sure. It's not really common to have 4 C's, so we were like, we might as well just do the 4 A's.
Right. Yeah, and if you have a freshman or sophomore, throwing the C on someone
yes.
the first, that's
you didn't want any like negative effects of it. So right. We were trying to kind of figure out the best way to go about that, and I think right now this is where we're at, and it's going well so far. So.
For sure. So I'm going to run through these 4 things, and then you can just give me a little something about what got them that A.
Yeah.
One of the seniors, Annika Einbeck, 2-sport athlete, played women's lacrosse and now on the hockey team, actually was on the podcast. Built your stick rack.
Oh my gosh, yes.
She's something.
Very involved. Yeah, I mean, she, we always joke that she's been waiting like 3 years for this to start. She's been at the birth of this really, as it's been in its trajectory and, with its ups and downs. So she's been kind of an integral piece of making MSOE women's hockey come about. And so with her, I think that she just is a great, not only the fact that she's a senior, she's had a lot of experience, in the classroom as well, which is always helpful with all these newbies coming in. As we've said, MSOE is a little bit of a daunting school. So having someone be, a senior and understanding the ins and outs of that is really, really great to have. And so, in that piece, she makes a great leader. But I think that she's also someone, and, Marie and I have talked about this. She's just someone who can have difficult conversations too, and doesn't shy away from those. And when you think of a leader, you want someone who can hold people accountable, in a healthy way, right? It's not like you're like calling them out or making them feel embarrassed purposefully. You're just being able to have that talk with them of like, hey, what's going on? Hey, we need more from you, in that great way. And I think that she never shies away from that. Like, she understands that that's needed. On a team, and I think she's also just like such a hard worker. So she leads by example on the ice every day, day in and day out. I mean, she scored technically like the first goal. It didn't count in that sense of like the regular season, but we counted it in our hearts and we gave them the pucks. But she had the first goal in the exhibition game, which was awesome. And again, that was just a testament to who she is as a person and as a player. And so it was fun to see that too. And I think that also kind of showed us as well, again, and she just came out and really knew what we needed and just did not stop moving her feet through the entire weekend. And she's just such a hard worker. And so I'm just excited to see, how she's going to continue to grow and to continue to help grow the rest of her teammates. And so, just love that girl. So as you can tell.
She's awesome. Setting the standard, obviously, for you guys.
Yes.
Someone who's going to be, by the time you're listening to this, will have taken over the MSOE Instagram account. Hannah Bauman.
Yeah, that girl. Great personality on that girl. Truly. It's so funny because she'll come across, I feel like sometimes she doesn't have a lot of words to say when you first meet her. And then she really comes out of her shell after you get to know her more. And she's the one that just literally does not stop talking on the bus. For sure.
We busted out the lightsaber. And it was
yes, exactly. She, any opportunity she can take to definitely showcase herself in that sense, she will, right? And that's just what makes her so fun. And so, we talk about you also talk about the types of leaders who are the glue, right? She's one of those people. She is the person that I feel anyone can come to. And, she's very approachable. She always checks in with her teammates. Again, she's always making them laugh. And I think that you need that, especially, again, as we talked about, a season's a long season. There's a lot of ups and downs. And so she's someone that I think that can always make sure that it's we're keeping it light in the locker room. We're not getting too down on ourselves. We're making each other laugh. And I think that, she also was one of our transfers, right? So she has had a year of collegiate experience under her belt, which again was something that, I think that it showed as well over the exhibition weekend. I think that kind of brought out, and we'll talk about Mia after this, but I think just like the need that we have for the girls who have been there. And so I think that was something that we really leaned into when picking our leadership group too, is like, they know what it's like to play against a lot of these teams in the league. And so they know what the standard is as well, and they can help kind of bring our fresh, newer team up to that. So I think that with Hannah, I think that was great. And again, as you guys will find out on Thursday, I'm sure it'll be a very entertaining takeover. So definitely tune into that, because she is always doing stuff like that and always giving us a great laugh. And so I'm excited to have her. And it's kind of cute too. She was like, went to all my Badger games growing up and stuff. So it's kind of funny and like very full circle to see that. That's too. Crazy. So she's a, Wisconsin girl. So it's kind of nice to have. And so was Annika. So it's kind of fun to have that too in the birth of this program and being able to have leaders who have, been in the state. So
yeah. Amy McDonald.
Yes. Amy, yeah.
I'm trying to think of because I don't want this to sound like condescending in any way, but like definitely like a little bit of like ringleader vibes. Like
absolutely,
she's kind of like the sun. Like everyone kind of gravitates a little bit around her, just kind of gets pulled in.
That was a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah. No, you nailed it. Really, that is her personality. Amy is a true competitor. Not that the other girls aren't, but that like she, from the moment you meet Amy, that, right? It's kind of just like this aura she has about her. I would say, right? Yeah, like the sun. Like it really is like. People respect her right away. I think this just given the fact that she just demands it in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's not in it's not in a mean way or a negative way or anything. Like I think that it's just like she just is a true competitor. So she really brings that out of the people that she's around. Amy has been one of that core, just like Annika that was here, that, kind of, again, went through all of the ups and downs of this program and getting it off the ground. And so she again knows what it's like to not have the hockey and knows what it's like to have it now. And so, she's jumped on in full force into our team. And then again, I go back to those hard conversations. Amy can have those, right? Like she is the person on the bench that is like, hey guys, I know we can be better than this. I think that she has also showcased a lot of maturity, like in the beginning, I think just as a leader, like she was still trying to figure out how to motivate others. And, if it did come across as something that maybe was too much, she adjusts it. She's able to realize now that people are motivated in different ways. I think that she has, accepted her role as that leader and recognized that people need different things. And so I think that I've seen that maturity in her to really, really take that to heart, and to make herself the best version that she can be, and to be able to lead this team. So it's been fun to see that growth too. I think even from like the beginning and her kind of like getting excited and trying to take over and then realizing, okay, like how can I best lead? And she's really been great at that. And so yeah, you'll always hear her on the bench, definitely, if you can kind of, keep an ear out. She's always the one that's kind of like demanding that best effort from everyone, which we need. Again, we need someone like that. So it's funny because I feel like when we think about our four, you have kind of those glue girls, and then you do have the people like Annika and Amy who kind of have that like setting the standard type of personality. So I think that as a four, like they're absolutely going to balance each other out in the best way, truthfully. So
well, it's good to know that when we hear that on Saturday now, I'll be like, oh
yeah, you're like, Amy. That's Amy.
Nothing to worry about. All right, and our last one was giving me problems getting her headshot uploaded to the website yesterday.
No worries.
We got that figured out basically immediately after.
Yes.
Mia Amelia Jutz.
Yeah.
What does she bring to the table?
So it's funny, everyone already calls her grandma. So she is our grad. Yep, so she is our grad.
Say less.
Right? So she brings that grandma personality in the best way. Mm-hmm. Like people go to her for anything and everything, as you would your grandma. So she quickly earned that name right away, which was something that we certainly took note of. And she does have that like more experience, even so, as a collegiate athlete, right? And so I think a lot of times people do lean on her for a lot of that. As we're starting up and having a regular season, we're learning the ins and outs of a game day, what that looks like, what off-ice warm-ups look like, what on-ice warm-ups look like. We kind of have all those little logistics that are very new to a majority of our team. Yeah. So again, with Hannah, with Mia, it is nice to have those girls who are like, here's how it goes. Let's do this together. And she really took initiative on a lot of that stuff, which again we noted before we kind of were able to announce our leadership group. But yeah, she's just the person that anyone can come to, and you need that approachable person when you think of a leader, especially in balancing all of it out. She is one of those glue people. It's kind of funny, like Amy, Mia and Hannah, like they sit kind of in the front of the bus on trips. Because I think, nauseous bus riders. Yep. So they said, but they're nonstop chatting all the time too. Sure. So that was something that I always, again, kept in mind too when we were kind of figuring out who this group would be. And I'm like, they already have like such a great relationship with one another. They're already talking nonstop. I can see them being able to figure out solutions, to address issues, to be a liaison between the team and the staff. And so I think that that's just a beautiful blossoming of that friendship and that growth and that leadership core. But yeah, Mia, again, she just is like all smiles and again, grandma personality, in truly the best possible way. And people look up to her and they lean on her for that. And so I'm excited to see what she'll bring to the table as well as a leader.
For sure. And I think people who maybe haven't been in a locker room don't quite understand like what it means to be like a glue guy, if you will. Because to me, when I think of like the people in my locker rooms who I had over the years that were like the glue guys, it was like, and maybe resiliency is the wrong word, but like they were the same every single day. No matter what I was going through and how bad I felt, there were guys who were unaffected by anything. And you just showed up and it was the same day.
Yes.
Like, dude, like, we just had
you
finals.
Need that.
Like,
yes.
Isn't anything going on? Like, hey, we're here, man. We're here. Let's have practice.
Yes, like, they always bring that energy.
It grounds you.
Yes.
No matter what else is going on in your life, you need those people there. That can bring you back when you're having the worst day or when you get too high on your horse. They can bring you
and
right
it's so
down.
funny you note that. It was really funny, in the beginning of, during that training camp part and kind of the early season, finals came, and that was an interesting week to navigate. It was tough, especially being a lot of the first exams for everyone at this school, which we know is a tough school. And I remember even so, we ended up having like a day where we just did like team yoga and journaling and like tried to really tap into that mental performance side of stuff, and it was well received. But Mia was someone who actually and this is classic Mia, she pretended that she was like a secret person that was leaving all these sticky notes on everyone's locker of encouragement and positivity, and then of course she quickly released that it was her like as soon as someone asked, but which we already kind of assumed because that's something that she would do. But yeah, she was someone who like put words of encouragement on everyone's stall, like all of our like underclassmen, of just like, hey, great job getting through all of that, like celebrate that little win for yourself. And which was again like something so sweet, and like you said, like that consistency in the support is what we need. We have words of each week that we're trying to hone in on in practice, and actually it's funny you say that because consistency is one of them, and that it does apply to off-ice personalities as well, and remaining consistent. How can we keep that energy alive even in the moments that we feel like life is just overwhelming and pouring down? And she is definitely that wisdom and that grace that comes in and is like, all right, everyone, like, welcome to practice, welcome to games, like, it's great.
You could probably go the whole season. She could probably not record a point, and you guys would still say we felt her impact every single day.
Yes, 100%. Yep, that is that person.
All right, Coach. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to join me. I want to wish you good luck this weekend in the first official games, and we will see you for the ceremonial first puck drop on Saturday night.
So excited. Thank you.
You can follow Raider Athletics on YouTube at MSOE Raider Athletics, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MSOE_Raiders. Don't forget to find us on Spotify, too. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, repost, share, and get the word out to all your Raider friends and family. We want you to be heard. Mention us on social media and tell us what you want to hear about. Go Raiders!